Still got the hands free, it was so good. Spark run down by Tiana Smith, but not before she kicks another.
To Conway, has a paddock for her at half forward, has a bounce, on the run from 40, take a bow, Sophie Conway.
Taylor Smith for her second. Puts the Lions in front.
They had different ideas, got in each other's way, and Courtney Hodder said, oh, thanks. Empson out, just puts it into the path of Ali. Kathy might have to go herself. Ali works hard to get there. Coming from nowhere was Kelly, left it behind. Hampton kicks the goal.
Well, the AFLW season is done and dusted, and it ended in, well, let's be honest, pretty unceremonious fashion in the AFLW Grand Final against North Melbourne. Now, of course, this is the Brisbane Lions fancast, so I am going to try and look at this through a Brisbane Lions lens, but it must be said, North were absolutely fantastic. They were comprehensive in every single line, in every single facet of the game. They very much reminded me of Geelong in 2022. They were on a tear, and God help whoever was in front of them, and it all culminated in an almost, well, basically a flawless grand final performance for North, and they really were just a lot better, a lot tougher, so tough, so, like, go back and watch that game. They were so much tougher, cleaner with the ball, and just simply much, much better across the day. Even Craig Starcevich said at the end in his post-match presser, it's the best AFLW footy he's seen in his entire time coaching. It's hard to disagree with that. All the credit deservedly goes to North Melbourne. They came out round one, punched us in the face. After the grand final loss last year, they recruited well. They recruited very, very well. They got in players they needed to do. And, you know, as they went through undefeated, they copped a draw. That was as close as to losing as they came. They got a little bit tested from Adelaide in the qualifying final, but really never looked in danger. And come grand final day, they were absolutely primed and ready just to tear us apart yet again. So it's really hard to come in and say, hey, here's where Brisbane went wrong. And there's a few things, and we will get to that probably could have been tidied up, but I think it would have mattered for very little in the end because North were just so strong. And as I said, it really came down to the toughness and the physicality that North came in with that we just weren't prepared to match across the game. And I think that's probably where it all came down to. For them, I thought Alice O'Loughlin was clearly one of the better ones on ground. Jazzy Gardner with the best on ground officially. I thought Emma Carney's performance was absolutely amazing, and I had her as my BOG. And down back, Sarah Wright was basically just intercepting everything. So every line they dominated, and you know, I've pulled out those three players for North as, you know, best on, but it really was a complete team performance, and something that I think the rest of the competition and us especially needs to try and match, because the bar has been lifted, and it's up to everyone else to come along with that now. 5 grand finals in a row for the Brisbane Lions across men's and women's competition. Yet again, it's the 6th grand final for our women's team. You know, we're now 2-4, so on the wrong side of the ledger, but, you know, an amazing mark of consistency to get there yet again, and to, you know, be a well-oiled machine yet again throughout the season. It didn't really happen for us on grand final day. And as I said on Twitter, we didn't do a huge amount wrong. Now, as I said, there's probably a few things we could have tidied up. You know, a couple of drop marks at inopportune times, some hack kick forwards. The thing for me is we just weren't prepared to go with them physically. We weren't prepared to commit to tackles, to pressure in the same way they were. Almost like we were happy to take an extra second and corral rather than just commit to the tackle and stick it. Gave them an extra second to think about what they were going to do with the ball, and they were just so clean with their ball movement moving forward. And more often than not, they'd find Vicky Wall or Alice O'Loughlin in a mountain of space, and they were able to hit the scoreboard. We were able to kick 1 goal from a downfield free. So it just goes to show you how dominant North Melbourne were across the whole game. I thought for us, you know, Orla tried harder, as did Beldors, and highlight of the game from a Brisbane Lions perspective was obviously that double smother from Beldors on the half back line. That was really something to cheer about in the moment, but other than that, not a huge amount, because North were just so dominant. They did not let us get our game going at all. You know, intercept marks from Conan and Campbell and Nat Ryder were basically a non-factor. We couldn't get Ellie Anderson in the game we would have liked to. Our key forwards were barely sighted. I think Dax got a bit of a touch on the ball. Tay Smith got a bit of an injury. Our ruck was a huge problem. Emma King just absolutely destroyed us. Hickey looked a little bit underdone, and then obviously she copped that injury to the elbow later on in the game. Eleanor Hartill not playing up forward and was barely taking any ruck contests, so I'm not sure if she was carrying an injury of some description, but she was sided down back quite a fair bit as well. So we were obviously worried about the marking power of their tall forwards, and especially when Emma King moves forward as well. I get the idea of having Eleanor Hartill behind the ball to try and combat that, because Sheila, Randall, and Emma King can all take good contested marks, and they're prepared to dig the fingernails in a little bit and be a little bit more physical. Whereas our key forwards, they like a kick mark game. Contested marking, not necessarily their strong point. Yeah, they can do it, but it is certainly not a strong point, as I've pointed out on this before. Dax and Tay Smith really like a clean entry, and North were just not letting that happen. And as I said, Sarah Wright was there to mop up absolutely everything. So, yeah, they just dominated. Did not let us get our game going whatsoever. Like I said, we didn't do a whole lot wrong, but we could barely get anything right at the same time. So, and it all comes down to how North Melbourne performs. So, I still think we should be proud of what the girls were able to put out. Again, obviously, another grand final. You can't not be proud of that. Going to be a big, huge off-season coming up. There's going to be some player movement again, no doubt. Who knows what that's going to look like, whether we're going to get some big names in or, lose some big names, as has tended to be the Lions' way historically. So, something to look out for over the next couple of months with player movement in that aspect. Other than that, that is it for footy for 2024. Pre-season is back for the men's now. So there's been a few little, bits of information flying in and out of there. First press conference with Dane Zorko the other day. They're saying all the right things, doing all the right things. You don't know until you're there, and we won't know until opening round 1, and probably not even until round 10 about how we shape up. And even then, if you looked at us round 10 last year, you would think we were no hope. So, as I said, they're saying all the right things. Every club is at this time of the year. Everyone's training the house down, running PBs, all that sort of gear. Looks like Sam Marshall is talk of the town at the moment with his running capabilities. Now that Harry Sharp's gone, Jared Berry's always been a very strong runner. Dane Zorko point out Logan Morris as working on his fitness and his running ability, so that's something to look forward to for 2025 as well. Other than that, I'm really excited to see Ty Gallop. He will probably play a majority in the twos next year, so he looks like he's got all the attributes, and if Geelong's bidding on them, he must have something, because Geelong don't piss away picks whatsoever, especially they've been known to absolute strike gold with those later picks. So looking forward to seeing what he can produce next year. And of course, Sam Day comes into the club as well. The trade and draft period went pretty much as expected. So we just all buckled in and hoping those guys can come back from the rehab group. And we've got serious selection headaches coming our way for opening round next year. I don't even want to try and tackle that starting 22-23 at this stage. So that'll be it for us in terms of the Brisbane Lions fancast for a little while. Shame to see the girls go down, but once again, super proud of their efforts, and full credit goes to North Melbourne. They were absolutely fantastic. Cannot stress that enough. I'm hopefully going to try and do a few more of those little analysis videos across the next couple of months in the off season, if I can find the time in amongst work and Christmas and all that sort of stuff. But the full podcast will be back, as you know and love it, probably February next year, some sort of time, sort of early to mid-Feb, I would say. But yeah, thanks for your support for 2024. Absolutely loved it, as usual. And go Lions. See you soon.